Ooh, what's up guys, JohnOrigins here. Today got a Pokemon Showdown replay in the IU tier against Galladium, and it was a pretty good game, really close down to the wire. And I'm using a new team starring Mega Obama Snow. I saw it used and I was like, yo, I want to use Mega Obama Snow. I was initially going to use Trick Room, but I decided not to, although my team has a lot of Trick Room elephants, oh my god, elements in the form of Ridiculous, Rhyperior potentially, Aromatisse again potentially, and Abomasnow. But I decided to just do a lot of speed creeping instead. For example, my Ridiculous is the same set as I used in my previous Are You Live starring it, where it's got like 92 or 96 investment in speed to outspeed stuff like Dublade. And my Abomasnow is just a standard Smogon set with 84 investment to outspeed base. I believe it's base 30s without any speed investment, so that's fine. The rest of my team, looking at it, got Quillfish. It's a physically defensive set. It's not a lead set, of course, but it does have spikes, it does have hazards. Rhyperior is physically defensive as well, and that carries my Stealth Rocks. Aromatisse is specially defensive, nice and Michelle. Haven't named it yet, but whatever. And then Galladium is a Swords Dance Sweeper. It's a kind of balanced team. And looking at my opponent's team, it's interesting, it's very slow. I'm very scared about the Meloetta because I don't think I have any way to OHKO it apart from the close combat coming from Cobalion at +2. And Aromatisse could be an issue if I lose Cobalion. And the Knight at Excavalier is quite the issue. I need to weaken it to the point where Ridiculous can OHKO it. But the rest of the team I should be able to manage. At first glance, I would think that Abomasnow would do really well, but we'll have to see about that. And Cobalion could do quite well as well, because he doesn't really have an answer to that. He doesn't have a fighting resist, apart from Aromatisse, but that's weak to Iron Head and Steel type attacks in general. But I figured leading off with my Abomasnow was the best way forward, as I didn't expect him to lead out with Excavalier, because I have Quillfish, Rhyperior and Galladium all very safe switch-ins to it. So let's just get into the game and see how we do. So I lead off my Abomasnow, like he said. He ends up leading out with Seismitoad, which I'm perfectly okay with, because what I can do is go for the Blizzard. I knew that Excavalier was going to come in. Sorry for pausing it so early on. But what I need to do is get damage on Excavalier. I need damage to the point where Ridiculous can OHKO it with Hidden Power 5, because it's not an OHKO straight off the bat with no damage on board. I believe it takes about 2 Stealth Rock switch-ins to basically get an OHKO, but then I don't think it's guaranteed. So this Blizzard damage is going to come in extremely handy, as I get it for solid 33%, I believe, or 31%. So I have got the initial damage that I need on Excavalier, and now I'm going to switch into my Cobalion, kind of expecting a knockoff, but that didn't happen. A Mega Horn happened, and unfortunately he did get a crit. But what I can do here is actually set up early game, because I think I can do a lot of damage to his team. He ends up bringing in his Seismitoad. I'm like, I can definitely OHKO this. And I just click close combat and bam bam Bigelow. I love saying that. It goes down. Seismitoad gets knocked out, unfortunately, of course, hashtag Mazaracle. But Cobalion has taken out Pokemon already, but he brings in his Tangrowth, and I'm forced to switch out, as you just saw on screen. I knew I couldn't OHKO it. If he was physically defensive, I'd do like 60% to it, and that would be pitiful damage. But I think it's between like 60 and 80%, something ridiculous. But if he was offensive, then it would have been a roll to kill him, but the roll would not be in my favorite by a long shot. It was like 85 to 103%. So I didn't want to risk that. I ended up switching out into my Abomasnow, but for whatever reason, the fact that he had Hidden Power 5 did not cross my mind. So I lose a massive threat in the form of Abomasnow, because it could potentially take out Tangrowth depending on its speed investment, and also Rhyperior again depending on speed investment, and could do a lot of damage to Aromatisse. It could bait in a Excavalier and potentially live a hit from Meloetta and take some damage off that as well. So I lose a Wall Breaker very early on, unfortunately, but I'm hoping that my other 5 Pokemon will do the job. As I'm going to bring in my Ridiculous, I'm just going to go straight for the Psychic, play it safe, because his main switch is going to be the Excavalier, and because of the damage it's already taken from the Blizzard from my Abomasnow, I know I could take it out of the Hidden Power Fire on the following turn. As you saw then, I got a Special Defense Fall, which was like, yo, that's awesome. But I wanted to be nice, so I revealed Hidden Power Fire, thinking, you know, it doesn't matter. If you're just going to stay in and sack it, that's fine. He ends up switching out to Meloetta. And from that damage, I'm pretty sure he was Assault Vested. But I should have gone for the Psychic, because it would have 2K'd either way, and it was stab. It would have done more damage to any sort of switch. So that was a pretty bad play on my part. and I'm forced to switch out to Aromatisse, which takes unnecessary damage, as he brings in his own Aromatisse as I go for the Wish. Here, I expected him to go for the Moonblast, anticipating my Galladium coming in, because my Galladium is quite low. Maybe you can see it. Yeah, I'm at 36%, and Moonblast does 45% minimum, I believe. So I figured he'd just go straight for the Moonblast, anticipating my Galladium coming in to take the Wish, and therefore I could get a free switch into my Quillfish instead of Hazards. He doesn't do that. Either he predicts it or just makes a safe play. He goes for the Wish, and that's just a thing. Unfortunately, that kind of wasted me a bit, because now he gets his Escavalier back to full HP, which I'm not too bothered about, because as long as I can get the necessary damage onto Escavalier so my Runicus can HP fire it, I'm not too bothered by it. So what I'm going to do is go for the spikes with my Quillfish, because I also noticed that his team's incredibly weak to hazards at this point, and it always had been. So I'm going to try and get up as many layers of spikes as I can. Then I get the initial damage on to the Escavalier. Luckily, he does get paralyzed, but the odds were in my favor because I had Waterfall and Power on the go. So what I can do is go for another layer of spikes. 2 layers of spikes are up now, which is great for me. His team is all grounded, meaning Pokemon are taking like 16, 17%, 18% every time they come in. I'm going to go straight for the safe Hidden Power Fire with my Reuniclus. As he brings in his Meloetta, I'm thinking, no, Focus Blast, let's go. Luckily, I get a cheeky little crit, which does help in the fact that he can't switch in anymore because of spikes. So that's kind of important, but I can bring my Aromatisse in, and Aromatisse beats this one-on-one because he is Assault Vest. Now, one thing I don't get in a series of plays that happen is basically me wish stalling until I get to a comfortable range of HP where I can take out this Meloetta and still be at ranges to take hits from stuff like Tangrowth. He doesn't go for the Psychic once, and I'm pretty sure he was Assault Vested, and Psychic has obviously the chance to get the special defense fall, as you saw earlier in the game with Reuniclus. And if he went for the Psy Shock, he would have done more damage, I think, as well, because I'm especially defensive of Aromatisse. So I'm not sure why he just reluctantly kept going for the Hyper Voice. It didn't seem to be the best play in my opinion. But what I can do now at this point is just go for the Moonblast, knock out this Meloetta, and it's not a problem anymore. The good thing is now that my Galladium doesn't have to take life fall damage taking it out. So that's good. Now his last 4 are incredibly weak to Galladium. I just need to get Tangrowth taken out. So I actually go for the Protect here because I just bit my tongue. I anticipated him to double switch into his Tangrowth, but that doesn't happen. So what I could do here is go into my Rhyperior, and I'm actually going to go for the Roar, anticipating his switch out into his Tangrowth. And what this means is I can get spikes damage on whatever Pokemon that I force in. I ended up bringing in the Aromatisse, which I didn't think was too bad at the time. So what I can do is go for the Earthquake, scout for damage, and then on the following turn, as he goes for the Wish, I'm just going to Roar outplay it safe, just so he can't get this Aromatisse at a good standing of HP. I'm hoping anything but the Tangrowth comes in, and luckily for me, this thing comes in, the Escavalier. So I can go for the Earthquake on this, get it back in range of Hidden Power Fire. That's been a consistent theme. This Escavalier kept going out of range of Reuniclus, but I go for the Earthquake, then anticipating to switch out into Tangrowth. I'm going to set up my Stealth Rocks, meaning that Aromatisse at its current state cannot switch in twice, which is fantastic for me. And here he actually goes for the Sleep Powder, which really helped me, because what this enables me to do, it enables me to switch out here and hopefully get a free switch. I believe it's into Aromatisse, and then Aromatisse could be able to stall out his team depending on how much Rhyperior does to me. So I'm just going to go straight for I think I'll go for the Wish, but it turns out he's got Life Orb offensive Rhyperior. This is kind of scary. The best way I can take it out at this point is with Galladium. I was somewhat hoping that he was a defensive Rhyperior without speed investment, because then Reuniclus could come in and just destroy most of his team. Probably all of it, to be honest. Tangrowth would outspeed me, but because of it probably has a bit of speed investment, and it outspent my Rhyperior, obviously. So Reuniclus could have taken a hit from that, and most likely did a lot of damage to Tangrowth, because I'm a Life Orb Reuniclus. If this was defensive Rhyperior, I would have destroyed it with a Psychic or a Focus Blast, depending on what tickled my fancy. But because it's Life Orb, it occurs to me that he's obviously got some sort of speed investment as well to outspeed Pokemon like Doublade and other Rhyperiors that are speed creeping. So I can't really bring in Reuniclus onto that because of how low I am, thanks to the Hyper Voice from Meloetta early on in the game. I could knock out Escavalier with the Hidden Power Fire, and I could knock out Aromatisse from the range of HP it's at because of the hazards that I have on the field. So initially my plan was Reuniclus, but now that's out the window because of this Rhyperior set. So what I'm kind of forced into my Cobalion here, and I'm just going to go straight for the close combat, and he makes really interesting and probably a bad play. He ends up going into his Tangrowth. Now obviously nothing could beat this Cobalion at this point. He has to sack Pokemon, he has to make plays. I figured I took my time making the second close combat play because I figured he might switch out into a Aromatisse or something, but then because of how low Aromatisse is, it's very interesting. You know, because I think close combat would have killed from this range. Then I'm going to knock out the Aromatisse with the Iron Head. That brings me to 1 Life Orb hit. Now, he has 2 Pokemon left. I have 1 Life Orb hit left in me. Obviously, he's going to try and sack Escavalier because Rhyperior will be the remaining 2 of my team. So he's actually going to bring in an Escavalier here, and that basically seals me the game because he's just destroyed the aspect of a 50-50. His Rhyperior is at a range of HP where I believe it can take 2 switch-ins. Well, it's somewhat 50-50, but I think the hazards had won me the game. Because if he brought in Rhyperior, he would have took probably, I think it's 15% from entry hazards. So that would have brought him down to 45%. He would then double, well, 40%, 50%. Then he would switch out into Escavalier, sacking it to a close combat coming from my Cobalion. And then he'd bring in Rhyperior, had about 30% left, and probably taken out both my Rhyperior, who's asleep. And then my Reuniclus is at such low HP. That's what he could have done. I think that would have won him the game. Instead, he brings in his Escavalier, who takes entry hazard damage. And obviously, I can just close combat for free here, because if I close combat and he switches out to Rhyperior, Rhyperior dies, and then I die, but then Reuniclus just cleans up the game. So I have no real reason to not switch out here. Sacrifice my Rhyperior, and then go out into my Reuniclus and just go for the Psychic because of how low Escavalier is. So that's what I'm going to do. Go into Rhyperior, sack it with the Iron Head, and then I go into my Reuniclus, click Psychic, and I should be good to go. I just want to hope my theory is right. I'm not sure how much entry hazard damage Rhyperior actually takes. It is 15%, 20% even. So, well, he took 20% there, and then he'd take another 20%. I believe that 25% HP, and that still gives him 2 life orb hits. So he would have won the game potentially, but I would have to make predictions. I would have to make double switches, or it would have been down to the wire basically. That game, it would have definitely come down to a 50-50. But he brought in his Escavalier instead of his Rhyperior, which just enables me to sack my Reuniclus here to an Earthquake. And then I can just bring in my Cobalion, go for the close combat, knock him out. And because he died before my life orb damage killed me, I win the game in like a 0-0 win. I don't know. It was a super close game that realistically came down to that turn, where if he had brought in Rhyperior over Escavalier, it would have forced a 50-50 and could have changed the outcome of the game. But still a very close game. No Pokemon left standing, but I come out the victor because Cobalion just did a lot of work. He destroyed his team because of how slow it was. I was somewhat expecting his Meloetta to be Choice Scarf, to be honest, but it turned out not to be, and it was most likely a Assault Vest. Very, very close game. He was quite shocked by the fact that I'd won, but Life Orb, it works in a way where you don't tie. It's not a tie if both Pokemon faint at the end, because I got the hit off. Rhyperior fainted first, I'd won the battle at that point. Cobalion fell to the floor afterwards because of how powerful it is, and it actually did a lot of work. Along with Reuniclus, it made a very threatening scenario. The fact that his Pokemon had a lot of speed invested into them made it a bit difficult for my Reuniclus, so I had to rely on Cobalion, and it came through in the end, did a lot of work. One thing about this team, it is it's quite ground weak, and because of that, it's kind of hazard weak as well, but I have Taunt on both Quillfish and Cobalion, so I can stop that kind of thing from happening to a degree. So that's not too bad, and I can put a lot of oppression, bloody hell, a lot of pressure on his team with Abomasnow, Cobalion, and Reuniclus combined. So that's not too bad. I hope you guys enjoyed this replay. If you did, leave a like, rating, comment, and subscribe. I've been JohnOrigins, and I'm out. So peace.